Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show where we take sources you're interested in, dig into them, and pull out the key insights, trying to make even pretty complex stuff clear and hopefully engaging. And today we've got a fascinating one. It's based on these newly found Atlantean scrolls, apparently written by someone called Josephine. It's all about this puzzle in a fictional place, Mama Yorka, concerning unfaithful husbands.
Yeah, and it sounds maybe a bit like, local gossip, but Josephine's work here is actually surprisingly deep. It digs into how knowledge and communication and action are all tangled up together.
Right.
So our mission, really, in this deep dive is to follow this puzzle as Atlantean communication tech changes and see what it tells us about principles that go way beyond marriage,
Yeah.
Think computer networks trying to agree or robots coordinating.
Okay, so set the scene for us. Mama Yorka, Queen Henrietta I. What's the deal?
Right, so there are a few ground rules everyone knows. It's like common knowledge. 1, the queens always tell the truth. 2, the women are obedient, they follow the rules.
Got it.
And 3, if a shot is fired, everyone hears it instantly. Okay.
Truthful queen, obedient wives, everyone hears shots.
Exactly. Then Queen Henrietta makes a public announcement. She says, there is at least one unfaithful husband in Mama Yorka. Big news.
Whoa.
But then she adds a rule. No discussing it. At all. And if a wife finds out her own husband is unfaithful, she must shoot him at midnight on the very day she discovers it.
Harsh. And forbidden to talk about it. So what happens?
Well, 39 nights pass in complete silence.
39. Wow.
And then, on the 40th midnight, shots are heard.
Okay, that's the puzzle. So the immediate questions are, how many husbands?
Right. And how did the wives figure it out together without talking, and only after so long?
And yeah, what does this whole silent process tell us about knowledge itself?
Exactly. Let's break down that original puzzle first.
Okay.
Think simple. What if there was only one unfaithful husband?
Okay, one guy. His wife knows he's the one because, well, she knows about him, and she knows all the other husbands are faithful.
Right. And she hears the queen's announcement, which is common knowledge, at least one.
So she instantly knows, it must be my husband.
And according to the rules.
Bang, shot on the first night.
But that didn't happen, did it? Night 1 was silent.
Okay. So the silence on night 1 tells everyone something important.
What does it tell them?
It tells them there can't be only one unfaithful husband. There must be at least 2.
Precisely. Now let's take the case of exactly 2 unfaithful husbands. Let's call their wives Alice and Beth.
Okay. Alice knows about Beth's husband being unfaithful, and Beth knows about Alice's. But neither knows about their own initially.
Right. So Alice hears the announcement. She knows Beth's husband is unfaithful. What does she expect to happen on night 1?
She expects Beth to shoot her husband, because if he were the only one, Beth would know immediately.
But night 1 passes silently.
So Alice thinks, Beth didn't shoot. The only reason she wouldn't shoot is if she also knew about another unfaithful husband, preventing her from being sure on day 1.
And the only other candidate is my husband.
Got it. So Alice deduces her husband is unfaithful on day 1 because of the silence, and Beth goes through the exact same logic.
Exactly. So on midnight of the second night.
Boom, boom, 2 shots.
And this logic, Josephine explains, it basically scales up. It's what she calls Theorem 1. If there are n unfaithful husbands...
They all get shot on the nth night.
Correct.
Okay.
Each silent night eliminates the possibility of N1 unfaithful husbands, then N2, and so on. The silence is actually transmitting information. It's allowing everyone to synchronously update their knowledge.
So back to the original story. 39 silent nights, then shots on the 40th.
It implies there were exactly 40 unfaithful husbands.
Wow. All figured out through shared knowledge, perfect synchronicity, and pure logic. No talking needed.
It's quite elegant, isn't it? But this elegant solution turns out to be incredibly fragile.
How so?
Well, enter Henrietta II. She wants to modernize. She introduces a mail system, guarantees eventual delivery, but not when.
Okay, asynchronous mail, like email sometimes feels.
Kind of. She sends out the same announcement as her mother via this mail system. At least one unfaithful husband, etc.
And the result? 40 days of silence then.
Nope. Total disaster. She was apparently disgraced. No shots were fired related to the announcement.
Really? Why? What went wrong with just adding mail?
It's Theorem 2 in Josephine's scrolls. Think about Alice again. She gets the letter. She knows Beth's husband is unfaithful.
No.
She waits. Night 1 is silent. Does that tell her anything definitive anymore?
Well, maybe Beth just hasn't received her letter yet.
Exactly. Alice can't distinguish between Beth's husband is the only one, but she hasn't got the letter, and there are more unfaithful husbands, including maybe mine. The silence loses its meaning.
Ah, because the timing is uncertain.
Right. You get what's called eventual common knowledge. Everyone will eventually know, and know that everyone will eventually know, but that's not enough. For coordinated action based on timing, you need certainty about when others know things.
So eventually isn't good enough here. It breaks the whole deduction chain.
Precisely. It's a bit like, trying to coordinate an attack in ancient times with unreliable messengers. If you don't know when or even if the other generals got the message, you can't reliably coordinate the timing.
Okay, so async communication was a bust. What's next?
Henrietta III. She tries to fix it. She upgrades the mail system to be weekly synchronous,
Meaning?
meaning there's a guaranteed maximum delivery time, let's say 1 day. If mailed on Monday, it arrives by end of Tuesday at the latest. She announces this mail system improvement first.
Making that common knowledge, too.
Yep. And then she repeats the original infidelity announcement via this new, faster mail.
And this time.
Well, she wasn't disgraced like her mother. Josephine says she was seen as more effective, but she's remembered for causing great injustice.
Injustice. How?
It sounds better.
It's subtle. The key is the delivery bound. Let's call it B. In her case, the bound is effectively 2 days, days sent plus 1 day delivery window.
Yeah.
This leads to something called B common knowledge.
And Proposition 3, which Josephine credits to Henrietta III, says a wife who knows of K unfaithful husbands will figure out her own, is unfaithful KB silent nights after she herself receives the letter.
Wait, after she receives it, not after the announcement.
Correct. And that's the seed of the injustice explained in Theorem 4. Imagine there are 2 unfaithful husbands again, Alice and Beth, and the delivery bound B is 2.
Okay, K1 for each of them, B2. So they need 12 equals 2 silent nights after getting the letter.
Right. But what if Alice gets her letter on Monday and Beth gets hers on Tuesday?
Alice waits Monday night, silent. Tuesday night, silent.
Yeah.
She should shoot Tuesday midnight, right?
Yes. But Beth only got her letter on Tuesday. She needs 2 silent nights starting from when she got the letter. She sees Tuesday night as silent.
And expects Wednesday night to be silent too before she acts. But then she hears Alice's shot on Tuesday night.
Exactly. Now Beth is total confused. Was that shot because Alice got the letter earlier? Or was there only one unfaithful husband, Alice's, and Alice got the letter even earlier? Beth can no longer be sure. She remains in permanent doubt.
So only the wives who happen to get the letter on the very first day any cheated wife receives it can actually complete the deduction correctly. Anyone getting it later gets confused by the first wave of shots.
That's the injustice. Some guilty husbands escape because their wives received the letter a bit later and got confused.
Wow. But Josine mentioned a possible fix, right? Something about a delay.
Yeah, it suggested Henrietta III was close. Proposition 5 explores adding a mandatory delay, D, after a wife realizes her husband is unfaithful but before she shoots.
How does that help?
Well, the calculation changes. A wife knowing of K unfaithful husbands now needs KB plus D silent nights after receiving the letter to be sure.
Okay, so it stretches the timeline.
It does, and Theorem 6 is the payoff.
Yeah.
If the delayed is longer than the delivery uncertainty, DB1, then all cheated wives will eventually shoot, and no one stays in doubt.
Why does that work?
Intuitively, the delay creates bigger, more separated time windows for the expected shots based on different numbers of unfaithful husbands, okay, and possible receive times. It makes it easier for a wife like Beth to distinguish, oh, that shot was from someone who knew of one less cheater than me but got the letter earlier, versus that shot means my own husband is unfaithful. The delay provides enough buffer to resolve the ambiguity.
So a simple waiting period could have prevented the injustice. Interesting. You mentioned bribes, too.
Oh, right. Josephine notes this shrewd tactic from the Weisgold district. Proposition 7 says if a wife, say, bribes the mail carrier to find out the exact date the queen sent the original letter.
Ooh, insider information.
Yeah. That wife now has a fixed starting point. She can calculate exactly when the first shot should occur based on K and B, regardless of when she got the letter, so she can figure out her own husband's status. But
it only helps her. It doesn't fix the system for everyone.
Exactly. It's a private solution, not a public one.
Okay, so after Henrietta III's partial success and injustice, who's next?
Henrietta IV. She goes all out, introduces a proper calendar, and upgrades to a strongly synchronous mail system.
Meaning?
Same-day delivery. Guaranteed. Plus, the letter itself includes the mailing date, so everyone knows exactly when it was sent and receives it on that same day. It's like Henrietta First's public announcement, but via mail.
Perfect synchronicity,
Yeah,
basically. So she sends out the original message,
she does.
and finally, problem solved. 40 days, then shot.
1,000 silent nights.
1,000.
What?
With perfect communication. How?
Henrietta I eventually figured it out. The problem wasn't the communication anymore. It was trust, or rather, the common knowledge of obedience.
What do you mean? The wives were still obedient, weren't they?
Mostly, yes. But after Henrietta III's mess, could any individual wife be 100% certain that every single other cheated wife would actually follow the rule and shoot? This leads to Proposition 8.
Okay.
If there's even a possibility in the wives' minds that one cheated wife might just not shoot, maybe out of fear, pity, whatever, disobedience, then the logic breaks again. Because if you hear silence, you can't be sure if it's because your husband is faithful or if there's a cheated wife out there who should have shot but didn't. The possibility of even one disobedient person introduces doubt and prevents action.
Wow. So the mere possibility of disobedience ground the whole thing to a halt, even with perfect communication. It's like a single potential failure point brings down the system.
Exactly right. So Henrietta IV, realizing this, sent a second letter.
What did it say?
It said, "There is at least one obedient wife whose husband is unfaithful."
So she specifically addressed the trust issue.
Precisely. Theorem 9 explains that this second letter restored the necessary common knowledge. Now, every obedient wife knew there was at least one other obedient wife who would act if her husband was unfaithful. This essentially reset the conditions, allowing the original logic of Henrietta I's time to work again, at least among the obedient ones.
Okay, that makes sense. Reestablishing trust was key. Now, what about Mamarenga, the neighbors with the ring delivery system?
Right, they tried Henrietta II's letter too. Their mail went in a fixed clockwise order. You'd think knowing the order might help, right? Give more structure.
Yeah, maybe.
Turns out, mostly no. Theorem 10 is pretty surprising. Part A, if their ring mail was asynchronous, only the very last cheated wife in the delivery order would ever shoot her husband.
Only the last one. Why?
Because everyone before her in the ring would get the letter, know about some other unfaithful husbands, perhaps further down the ring, wait, here's silence, and incorrectly conclude their own husband must be faithful because if the people before them in the ring had unfaithful husbands, they should have shot already, based on the faulty assumption that earlier wives could have figured it out. Only the last wife in line, hearing silence from everyone before her, could potentially deduce her status correctly.
Wow. So knowing the order created this weird cascade of incorrect assumptions for almost everyone. What about synchronous ring delivery, weakly or strongly?
Still problematic. Parts B and C of Theorem 10 say that even with guaranteed delivery times, weakly or strongly synchronous, injustice might still occur. Some cheated wives might shoot, but others might remain in doubt, and some guilty husbands could escape.
So even knowing the exact delivery times and the order didn't fix it? Why not?
Because knowing the order introduces an asymmetry. Your reasoning depends heavily on your specific position in the ring relative to other potential cheated wives. The silence you observe or the shots you hear mean different things depending on who came before you. It makes the deductions incredibly complex and prone to error or doubt. It's really counterintuitive.
Yeah.
That more information, knowing the delivery order, actually seems to lead to a worse or more unjust outcome than the simple broadcast system of Henrietta I or even the Third with the delay.
That is wild. More knowledge isn't always better. Okay, so after all these struggles with communication, timing, and structure, Josephine mentions one last queen, Margaret.
Queen Margaret, yes. She had an express, same-day mail system like Henrietta V's final setup, but she was apparently impatient. Wanted a faster solution than waiting potentially weeks or months.
So what did she do?
She got creative with the action itself. She allowed wives to shoot into the air at midnight, a harmless signal.
Shooting blanks, basically. How did that help?
Proposition 11 lays out a surprisingly fast 3-night protocol using these air shots. It guarantees all unfaithful husbands are identified and shot within just 3 nights, and Josephine claims this is the fastest possible.
3 nights. How does it work, roughly?
It's based on the number of unfaithful husbands a wife initially knew about. She considers that number modulo 3 the remainder when divided by 3.
Okay.
So like on night 1, if the number of other unfaithful husbands you know is, say, 1, 4, 7, leaves a remainder of 1 when divided by 3, you fire into the air. On night 2, your action depends on whether you heard shots on night 1, and again based on your initial count modulo 3. It's a way of using the air shots as coded signals over 3 nights to quickly narrow down the possibilities.
So they're actively signaling information with harmless shots. instead of just relying on silence.
Exactly. It shifts from passive observation of silence to active signaling. And Josephine notes, this protocol could have just been added to Henrietta the Verse original Lettel. Wives figure out their husband is unfaithful, then they execute this 3-night air shot protocol to coordinate the final action.
A completely different approach, focusing on faster, active coordination. Okay, this whole journey through Mama Yorka's history has been something else.
It really has.
So wrapping this up for everyone listening, what are the big takeaways from this deep dive into Josephine's scrolls?
Well, I mean, the most obvious thing is just how tightly linked knowledge, communication, and action are, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The ability for a group to coordinate successfully depends hugely on the nuts and bolts of how they share information. The timing, the certainty, the structure, it all matters immensely.
And we saw some really counterintuitive stuff, like silence being informative.
Or how asynchronous communication, even if guaranteed, can just completely break everything.
Right. And that making communication better in terms of synchronicity doesn't automatically fix the problem. And
Sometimes, like with the ring, adding more information about the process can paradoxically make things worse.
yeah, that was the wildest part for me. Plus, the idea that creative solutions like changing the type of action with the air shots can drastically speed things up.
Absolutely. And look, while this is a fictional puzzle about, husbands in Atlantis, the core ideas are everywhere. Designing reliable computer networks, coordinating swarms of robots, even just like project management in a team. These issues of shared knowledge, communication delays, handling uncertainty, ensuring everyone's on the same page, they're fundamental.
So it's not just an abstract logic puzzle. These principles are playing out all around us.
Definitely. How do distributed databases achieve consensus? How do self-driving cars coordinate in traffic? They grapple with variations of these same problems, needing common knowledge, dealing with message delays, accounting for potential faults or disobedience.
So maybe a final thought for our listeners to mull over. Think about the communication systems in your life, your work teams, your social groups, even how news spreads.
Yeah, how do the subtle features of how information gets shared, the speed, the reliability, who knows what, how does that affect your collective ability to understand things accurately and, act effectively together?
Are there modern communication channels, maybe social media algorithms or instant messaging norms that might be creating their own versions of Henrietta II's confusion or Henrietta III's injustice, just in less dramatic ways?
That's definitely something to chew on. It makes you think about the hidden assumptions baked into how we communicate every day.
Indeed. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.